In studio this morning to discuss the bilateral relations between Kenya and Turkey, as well as engage on how Turkey has changed since that coup, is Turkish ambassador to Kenya, Denise Eke. And many thanks for joining me this morning. Let's just start right off from that story where we are seeing human rights activists led by the Amnesty International pleading with your government to release the human rights activists that have been held, detained in your country. What is the response from Turkey?
In order to answer your question, I think I have to go back to around these times last year when Turkey experienced one of the biggest security challenges in the history of the Republic. A crime network headed by Fethullah Gulen, who calls himself the Imam of the universe and who currently resides in the United States, through his followers in Turkey, attempted a coup. And the coup, as you all know, was diverted with the resilience of the Turkish people, the civilians, putting their own bodies in front of the tanks and basically sacrificed their lives to stop this attack on democracy. Following the coup attempt, Turkey has been taking extensive and comprehensive measures. In order for everybody to understand the seriousness of the challenge that my country is facing, it's worthy to look at what Fethullah Gulen terrorist organization has been doing in Turkey for the past 40 years or so. They have been presenting themselves as a charity organization, but very treacherously infiltrating state institutions, and mainly the military, the police, the intelligence, the education, and the judiciary. They have been doing this by hiding their real identities, their real faces, their real motivations. For that purpose, it's now being evidenced at courts that they have been using encrypted communication systems so that their messaging, their policies, strategies, and tactics will not be detected by the Turkish security forces. They have a very extensive network they have managed to develop over the past 40 years, comprising of hundreds of thousands of people. So, since my government and the very being of the Turkish Republic as a secular and democratic state is faced with such challenges, yes, there have been overarching measures taken, including serious investigations, some detentions, some arrests, and all those have been done in a very transparent manner within the rule of law. Turkey is a party to all European instruments and agreements guaranteeing the rule of law. And the cases that you have mentioned regarding the Amnesty International, some of the representatives were detained in action and their links, there are charges against them that they are linked to some terrorist activities or organizations in Turkey. Of course, I'm not in a position to comment on a case which is currently under investigation.
But just to ask you a follow-up question on that, because you speak about Fethullah Gulen's terrorist activities for all those years. But earlier on, he was in partnership with President Erdogan. Before all this happened, they were in partnership. And then the US and the EU says they're not convinced that there is enough evidence against him to be the one that was behind the coup.
Well, like I have mentioned, these people are trained, they are guided to hide their real identities and their real motivations. Like you have said, many people, many governments in Turkey, and also in more than 160 countries, with a goodwill, believed in these people for a very long time. But it was not with the coup that the real story started in Turkey. It was back in 2013 when it was found out that this group was already involved in political espionage, wiretapping, money laundering, and they have fabricated evidence against very high-level military and government officials. So already investigations had started back in 2013 against this group in Turkey. And in other countries, we are happy to see that the real face of this group is being seen, gradually seen. It's a process. The Organization of Islamic Conference has identified this crime network as a terrorist organization. The Gulf Cooperation Council has identified it as a terrorist organization, so did the Asian Parliamentary Assembly. In the United Nations Economic and Social Council, some of the NGOs linked to this group, their consultative status was recently withdrawn. So I wouldn't agree that there is not much action taken at international level, but our efforts to explain the real story will continue, definitely.
Okay. And some of the actions by the government, after the coup, seem to have polarized Turkey, really, and affected its international relations. What are the practical implications of this for Turkey with its relations, especially as you're still bidding to be part of the European Union?
Well, Turkey is a diverse country with people expressing their opinions freely.
Right.
But when it comes to this coup attempt and the measures that are being taken against Fethullah Gulen network members, I think there is almost a universal consensus in Turkey. Everybody agrees that Fethullah Gulen was behind the coup attempt. Everybody supports the government in the measures that are being taken, and I underline, they are being taken under the rule of law. And Turkey has recently established a review and inquiry commission. Anybody who has been subject to legal or administrative action as part of these measures can apply to that commission for a review. And the European Court of Human Rights has recognized this commission as a valid domestic legal remedy. And there is a possibility in Turkey for any individual to go to the Constitutional Court, and if not satisfied, to go to the European Court of Human Rights.
Right.
So with such legal remedies available, there is a consensus in the society that this crime network has to be eliminated from the state structures. And we are doing this so that Turkey have a free, democratic, and secular future.
Okay. And talking about a free, democratic, and secular future, in April this year, the country went into a referendum, and almost half of the population was opposed to this because the new political system now gives the president a lot of power. How has it been so far, and are you convincing the country, the more than 50% that voted against it, that this is good for Turkey?
Like I said, it is a diversity of opinions. The Turkish people have expressed their opinions peacefully at the ballot box, and the constitutional amendments were approved. We have changed, the constitution of Turkey was a product of the coup, which was successful back in 1980. We tried to correct it, the elements that were undemocratic because of the coup period. We tried to correct it through various amendments in time. But in time, we happen to have a dual structure between the president and the prime minister. According to the constitution, the president was legally not responsible, but he was actually vested a lot of powers, while the prime minister had equal powers and the legal responsibility. So the main purpose of the constitutional amendment is actually to correct this situation. The core elements of the amendment is not yet in force. There's going to be a presidential election in Turkey in 2019. So the Turkish people will go to the ballot box again and choose their president, whoever the candidates will be. And only after then, through a gradual phasing period, will the amendments be in force. Right. So it's democracy. Kenya also has a presidential system. As long as the checks and balances are there, and in Turkey there will be, between the parliament, the judiciary, and the president himself, I think presidential system can be quite an effective one.
Okay. And granted, that attempted coup is a huge political challenge and social challenge in the country. What are some of the effects that it has had to do with the economy and the welfare of the people? I know that so many people have both been fired because of getting linked with these terrorist groups and also just lost their jobs. What are some of the practical implications this has had?
Well, those people are civil servants and the military staff. And when you look at their percentage, it's 3 to 4% of the whole civil servants in Turkey. Of course, that is a number, but Turkey is a market economy. There are opportunities for these people, so they are not being deprived of all their rights. But as civil servants, if they are working against the state, I'm sure everybody would agree that they don't have any place in the government work. In the aftermath of the coup, definitely we had some drops in the tourist arrivals, some temporary fluctuations in the exchange rates, but in the first quarter of this year, Turkey registered a 5% growth. And since April, the tourism arrivals are picking up again. The foreign direct investments are still there, and they're under legal protection of Turkey. So I think 1 year after the coup, Turkey is moving ahead, looking ahead, but not forgetting the very traumatic experience that we had last year.
Maybe finally we have to talk about Kenya-Turkey ties and relationship. How would you describe this, and what are some of the key areas that we collaborate on?
We are actually celebrating the 50th anniversary of our diplomatic relations with Kenya this year. So in the second half of the year, there will be a number of activities to mark that.
All right.
I'm very happy and privileged to work in a very friendly country where there is a positive perception about Turkey, and also a willingness on both sides at the highest political level to deepen our relations at all levels. I'm also happy to see that now Turkey's top-notch companies are paying a bigger attention in the Kenyan market. When my president was here in June last year, he made a very strong call to the Turkish investors, and he urged them not to look at Kenya as a market, but as an investment destination, as an investment hub, and to make sure that our relations with Kenya are developed on a win-win basis. These are very strong messages, and I know that my president is personally committed to Africa, and East Africa has a special focus in his strategy. I'm very optimistic about the future of our ties, and I think one asset that both Turkey and Kenya have are their youth. Very dynamic, very much aware of the challenges, and once given an opportunity, they can create great things. And I think in the near future, one of our priority areas would be linking our youth stronger together.
All right, fantastic. Many thanks for coming to join us.
Thank you very much for hosting.
It was an honor.
Thank you.
Right, Denise Eke is the Turkey's ambassador to Kenya. We're talking about Turkey 1 year after that attempted coup and Kenya relation ties. We want to take a short break right now on Worldview, but don't go too far. More news when we return.